Hey there, I'm Judy Croon. Welcome to the Judy Croon Show. Today with me, I have a very special guest, a good friend, Alison Reid, the director, producer of an amazing documentary that honestly, this is one of those documentaries, it's timeless. I honestly think it should be in every school at the very least, going on from generation to generation. The Art of Adventure. The Art of Adventure is an inspiring and deeply human documentary about the extraordinary lifelong friendship between world renowned wildlife artist Robert Bateman and fearless biologist Bristol Foster through their epic 1957 journey around the world. This took them a year and a half. They were armed only with a 16 millimeter camera and an artist's brush. The film opens a vivid window onto a planet once wild and a bond formed through curiosity, courage, and love of nature. I've seen this film twice. The second time I saw it was last night at the Hot Docs Theater, which was packed. Standing ovation at the end. Ali, congratulations. You should be so proud.
Thank you so much, Judy. It was quite a night last night. Yeah, so great to see everyone responding to Robert and Bristol's story so well. They're such inspiring guys. Yeah.
They really are. And tell folks how old they are now. Like, this is shocking.
Yeah, so Robert Bateman is 95 years old. He'll turn 96 on May 24th.
Wow.
And his best friend Bristol, who he calls Tadpole because he's so much younger, is 93 years old, about to turn 94. So, and they're still so engaged in life, as you saw Bristol last night, and yeah, it's just really heartwarming to know them both.
So I did a little sort of synopsis of the movie, but tell folks in your own words what exactly this is all about.
Yeah, so when Robert and Bristol were in their 20s, Bristol got this idea that he'd been in school, he got his master's in biology, and he just needed a break. And they had met Robert and Bristol at the Royal Ontario Museum. They were both part of the Junior Naturalist Club, so they were avid birders together. So they were good friends. And when Bristol came up with this idea, like there was, I think, a British team that had gone in a Land Rover from London to Singapore, and he was like, "Wow, that'd be cool, but we want to go across Africa and experience the rainforest." Anyway, he called Robert up and said, "Hey, how'd you like to go around the world in a Land Rover?" And Bob's like, sort of went, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, right." Didn't quite believe him, and soon found out that Bristol was dead serious about it. So, yeah, off they went in 1957. But the extraordinary thing is that Bristol filmed the experience. So on a
Hmm.
Bolex camera. So we actually get to go on this journey with them. 69 years ago. So it's a real time capsule of the way the planet was then. And of course, Robert was not a famous artist at that time, but he was, he's been painting and sketching since he was a kid. So he was painting and sketching the whole trip, and we have that artwork in the film.
Mm.
And yeah, he even painted. So they traveled in this Land Rover that they called the Grizzly Torque, and it was like the third character. They loved the Grizzly Torque, this Land Rover. They slept in it, traveled in it. It was their home. And Robert painted an image for each country that they were in, along the side of the Land Rover. So starting in
Mm.
Canada, the UK, then Ghana, and then all across Africa, all the countries that they visited. So yeah, it's quite a record. But the film, two-thirds of the film is that, that journey, that adventure that the two of them were having, and they had quite some adventures, so that's for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. And the rest of the film is about how the two of them each spent the rest of their lives dedicated to, environmental causes. Robert's, I'm not sure how many people know, but he has made such vast contributions to, I think, 30 conservation
Mm.
organizations. He has a collection of paintings he has done, which are his conservation works, and he's just been very proactive about getting the word out about nature, connecting with nature, protecting nature. And Bristol's the same. You know, he's a scientist, and um, after he taught in Nairobi and studied actually drafts in Nairobi. But when he came back to Canada, one of the positions he had was the first director of ecological reserves for the province of British Columbia. So he's responsible for setting aside these huge areas, hectares and hectares of very sensitive habitat that would have been logged or otherwise destroyed. So he's
Right.
made such a marked difference in protecting the planet, and also in his mentoring of people. You know, so yeah, the film's about these two guys in their 90s who went on this adventure in their 20s, and you know they're still buddies, they're still friends, and they just bonded over their love of nature, and that remains.
Now, speaking of adventure, and folks, if you want more information about the movie and where the movie's going to be playing next, just go to the website. All the information is on the website, The Art of Adventure, themovie.com.
Yeah, the art of adventure movie.com. That's right.
Sorry, theartofadventuremovie.com. Theartofadventuremovie.com. Because Allie's been traveling all over with this movie. Give us tell us where you've gone and what are some of the highlights?
Oh wow. Well, we premiered at the Vancouver Film Festival in October, which was fantastic. There was like, I think there's close to 700 people in that audience, and
Mm,
of course Robert and Bristol were there, and then they got a standing ovation, and it was
Lord.
just it's a hometown crowd for them, like it was for us last night, and yeah, there's just so much enthusiasm and love for those guys. It's just so uplifting. I mean, there's so much to be worried about on the planet right now, and
Mhm.
the state of everything.
Sure.
And people just come up to them afterwards and say, you know, seeing you guys gives me so much hope. It's such a hopeful film and an inspiring film, and yeah, it leaves people uplifted, which I think is what everyone needs right now. Yeah,
And
so we
yeah,
start.
you've been touring all over Canada and also the States, right? Didn't you go down to Santa
Yeah,
Barbara?
in February we had our US premiere in Santa Barbara. The film was a fan favorite there, and then I went to Victoria. We won the audience award at the Victoria Film Festival, and then I
Mm.
went to Whitehorse,
Mm.
and we won the audience award there. So people are connecting with the film, which has been fantastic.
And now you have a connection with theaters. Like this is going to be released in theaters now. Folks are
Yeah.
actually going to go out and see this, which is part of the reason why we're doing this time-sensitive interview because it's going to be at the Varsity coming up this Sunday, right?
Yeah, in Toronto at the Varsity, which is in the Manulife Center. And that's a special screening, yeah, this Sunday, April the 12th at 6 p.m. And one of the subjects of the film, Bristol Foster and I, will be there for Q&A, so we're really looking forward to that one. I mean, so we're releasing the film, as you said, across Canada, and very select theaters, you know, from Victoria, Vancouver, you know, Hamilton, Guelph, Waterloo,
Mm.
Kingston, you know, Halifax, you name it. So all those venues are listed on our website under the screening section. And Bristol and I will be attending quite a few of those while he's here in Ontario.
There was something really, well, there are a number of really neat moments in the movie. One thing that stood out for me though was that both men didn't seem to get a lot of support from their dads growing up, but their mothers were instrumental. I mean, there's that great picture of Bristol. She said, "Yeah, I'd look after all of Bristol's wildlife when he was away." And there's a picture of the mom. She's in the kitchen doing the dishes, and there's a baby owl sitting on her head. Like
Yeah,
adorable,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
Both.
what did you make of that dynamic with their mothers, and how do you think that shaped who they became?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's one of the things that really I admire about both of them is the connection and the appreciation that they have for the women in their lives. Both Robert and Bristol's moms forgot the fact that they were
Mm.
connected to wildlife and supported it. As you see, the mom's washing dishes with an owl on her head. Um, but and Bob's mom too, so supportive. And he we have the very first painting he did and gave to her when he was just a youngster.
Oh,
So they really had this special connection with their mothers. And with their wives too. And one of the things that doesn't come across in the film as much as I'd like it to is that both Robert and Bristol's wives play a tremendously important role in their lives.
mm.
So I also have a YouTube channel, which is you can connect to through the website,
For
with
sure.
these
I'll
bonus
include the link.
scenes that didn't make it into the film that
Oh,
are like some of
good.
some of my favorite scenes. So you'll see if you want to see more about Robert and his wife and Bristol and his wife, you can check that out on the YouTube channel. Um, yeah, but the other important thing is that, you know, not only are women important in people's lives and mothers, but fathers are too. I mean, Bristol, as you'll see in the film, had a very tenuous relationship with his dad when he was growing up, and and his dad, pictured him being a businessman, not a biologist. So that
Right.
was a source of conflict because Bristol was not drawn to business; he was drawn to biology. But after the trip around the world, I think his dad got on board with it and started supporting Bristol. So in the end, their relationship got a lot better. And you know what? When I first showed Bristol a rough cut of this film back in, I don't know, February of last year, do you know what his first words were?
What?
I wish my dad had seen this. So after
Oh.
all, he's in his 90s, and the first thing that comes into his head, oh, damn, I wish my dad could. It's so important for
Mm-hmm.
kids to have approval and connection
Of
with their
course.
fathers as well as their mothers. And yeah,
Absolutely. And you know
yeah,
what? Having said all of this, like, even though Bristol's dad might have been disappointed that he didn't go into business, at the end of the day, Bristol's dad is the one that financed them, like, was able to
yes.
purchase the Land Rover for them. So even though they didn't see head to head, he still believed in his son enough to go on this adventure. And I was wondering how that might have worked. I don't know if you ever talked to Bristol. I'm like, did Bristol get his mom to kind of soft soap his dad and say, look, just get the kids the Land Rover,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't think Briss would even remember that right now. But I
Right?
know that he wasn't on board at the beginning, but
Mhm.
he was convinced to come on board, and then he got behind them. When he was on board, he was 2 feet in. He, like you said, he financed the purchase of the Land Rover. Initially, Bristol did pay him back over the years, but
Mm.
they certainly wouldn't have been able to do the trip without him.
Exactly. So, you know
Yeah.
what? It doesn't matter what your conflict is with your parents growing up. If they do the right thing and you do the right thing, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. The other thing that I thought was really kind of shocking, I think a lot of people found this shocking. A lot of Canadians are going to find this shocking, is, I mean, I couldn't believe that Robert isn't in the National Gallery. So, do you think that the art world might one day catch up with the impact that he's actually had? We're not talking a fantastic painter. Yes, he's a fantastic painter, but also as a result of his painting, and as a result of this trip and Bristol doing what he did for the environment, what the impact that Robert's had on the environment is tremendous, and it's sad that he's not in the National Gallery. Allie, what's up with that?
I know, Judy. I was
Right?
freaking floored. I mean, I, you know, Canadians, I hate to say it, and I think
Mm-hmm.
we're changing.
Yeah.
The last documentary I made was about Anne and a stag, the pioneer of giraffe science. So
Yeah.
she was before Jane Goodall.
Yeah.
We didn't know about her. I didn't know about her. Canadians did not know
Neither
about her.
did I.
If she was American or British, we would have elevated her, celebrated her so much
Oh,
earlier. I mean, she did end up getting the Order of Canada after the film came out and a lot of recognition after the film came out, but so that was great. But here we have Robert Bateman, whose artwork has been given as gifts by Canada to royalty.
right.
Um, you know,
Celebrities.
he's there are collections in Germany and the United States, like globally. He's not just celebrated and loved and appreciated in Canada by everyone but the art community, it seems, or some
Right.
members of the art community. But I think we're at a tipping point in Canada and with the whole global situation where we're actually ready to celebrate our own and toot our own horn. So,
Hmm.
I think I hope that people take another look at this and yeah, it's just shocking, and it's our taxpayer dollars, and
Right.
as Bob's son says in the film, shouldn't the National Gallery be a cross section of what Canada is art wise? And how can you do that? I mean, without Robert Bateman in the National
Hello.
Gallery, that's just a complete disconnect, So I really hope that changes.
And you
But
know what? They're a little bit jello, let's face it, right? Because at one point, Robert Bateman, as you said, his art was being given away by prime ministers to royalty, to celebrities. And he had it in his mind. He's like, yeah, but I don't want my artwork to be hidden in somebody's hallway in a house that the public will never see. So he started making prints so that the average Canadian, the average person could have access to his artwork. And then that was either considered too commercial or too kitschy or whatever. But that's just the wrong approach. Like, what's the matter with an artist making money during the time that they're alive? But that's not why he did it. His motivation was to get the average person to see his work.
that's right. You're dead right. And Warhols are mass produced. It was
Hello.
just like he was on the front end of that, so it was looked down upon. I mean, it's just so unjust, as you say. And it's not like his art, his talent isn't. I mean, I don't know a lot about art. I've learned a little bit more having made this film. But people that know art have dissected Bob's work for me, and there's something to look at. I mean, one of the interviews I did that's not in the film, one of the art experts says, if you can look at a Picasso, if you can look at a Rembrandt, look at a Bateman because there's going to be something for you to see. And I think that's true. And there seems to be some sort of jealousy, or there's also you know, for some reason, people looking down upon wildlife art. And of course,
Mhm.
Bob does incredible wildlife
Mm,
art, but he does so much more than wildlife art as
right.
well. But there's a reason we're all drawn to his work. And the nice thing about Robert, as you alluded to, is he's so down to earth and he
Mm.
connects with people. I mean, as you say, so many, when I tell people I made this film, the stories I get about, I met Robert Bateman at the book signing. My parents have the coffee table book. I have this piece of art or that piece of art. And the stories just go on and on. Robert Bateman taught me and blah, blah, blah. He took me on a tour here or there. He's just connected so strongly and has such a huge fan base. So I think it's time that he's celebrated nationally.
Completely. I mean, the saying is, when you know better, do better. They've only had 69 years to change their opinion about his artwork. So get on it,
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
something that also Robert said in the movie that was quite uplifting. He said, I don't, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but he said, I don't spend a day worrying about the environment, but I do something every day for the environment.
Yeah.
And that doing something every day, those small incremental steps that lead to big steps, both he and Bristol have left a huge legacy. But I wanted to say this to you, Ali. I mean, you mentioned Anne Inistag before. You did the documentary before this, The Woman Who Loves Giraffes. Another movie I think that's going to be timeless. Should also be shown in schools. You have taken those small steps that have led to big steps, and I know you've got another 10 years under your belt doing wonderful work, but honestly, if you stop today, your legacy are these two films. Like, they really
Uh,
are incredible, and they're truly, truly important. They're important for Canada, but they're important for the world. And on that note, I wanted to have you tell folks Who's coming and who's liking this documentary? Because you were actually surprised at the variety and the demo that came to your screenings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we knew that there was a huge fan base and name recognition with Robert Bateman. So people have been anticipating the film, and we knew that there's an older, mature audience that would come and love the film. And you see Bob and Bristol in a way that you've never seen Robert Bateman before, which is people say they had no idea about this story. So that's great. But yeah, the young people that have come up to Robert and Bristol after the screenings and said, "Oh my God, you're living my dream. You lived my dream. It's so inspiring. You did what I want to do. I want to, travel around the world, and we'll have to do it differently, but that's exactly, what I want to do." And they just find the two of them so inspiring. So, yeah, I'm excited to get the film into schools. We've had inquiries already, and we've actually created an education guide. So, six
Mm.
lesson plans for grades 7 to 12, which relate to the film, and also a post-secondary section. So that'll be available for teachers on our website shortly. Yeah, so we're excited about that.
Very, very, very clever, very smart, my friend.
You know,
Let's,
we're
yeah,
also talking to the national natural history museums across Canada. So hopefully we'll be
perfect.
screening we've got three of them on board. There are 13 across Canada, including the ROM and the Royal BC Museum. So we're hoping to get the film out that way as well.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of the film, again, we are doing this particular podcast because coming up this Sunday, you heard Ali say we've got a big screening happening at the Varsity at the Manulife at 6 p.m. For more information, go to the website. Any information, whether it's about Robert Bateman, it's about the documentary, whether you want to sign up for the newsletter, theartofadventuremovie.com. Theartofadventuremovie.com. Incredible documentary. I'm not just saying this because I'm your friend. I've seen it twice now. And like I said, I think this and The Woman Who Loves Giraffes, two major legacy moves for you. And I'm so proud of you and congratulations.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much.